We serve people every day that have never seen what clear water looks like. And the magnitude of that is illustrated when we do some distributions of filters in remote areas. When we show the water going through the filter, starting looking like chocolate milk and ending crystal clear, you see people have hope in their face and in their eyes. And you can tell they have not had hope in their face for a long time.
Welcome to the Jesus Storybook Bible Podcast, a place where we remind you that grace can rewrite any story, that hope shines a light through our darkest moments, and that God's love changes lives. Here's your host, New York Times bestselling author, Sally Lloyd Jones.
Hello, I'm Sally Lloyd Jones, author of the Jesus Storybook Bible, which tells the story of God's never stopping, never giving up, unbreaking, always and forever love. Welcome to the show. Today we're talking about hope. Tim Keller defined hope this way. Christian hope is a life-shaping certainty that our ultimate future is the eternal love and glory of God, the new heavens and new earth. I wrote about hope in my book, Thoughts to Make Your Heart Sing. Let me read it to you. When we use the word hope, we say things like, I hope we win. It's like wishing for something we're not really sure will happen. But in the Bible, hope means being absolutely certain something will happen. Jonathan Edwards, a great preacher, said, there are three things we can hope in if we belong to Jesus. 1, God will turn even the bad things around for your good in the end. 2, your good things can't ever be taken away from you. And 3, the best things are yet to come. It doesn't mean that everything in our story is happy today, but that God is making the story end happily for the world and for his children. Romans 15 verse 13 says, the God of hope will fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope. Our guest today is overflowing with hope. For many years, Christopher Beth worked as a business consultant, but his whole life was changed on a trip to the Amazon when he saw firsthand how people were living without clean drinking water. And it was then that he witnessed what it means to be without hope. And then he heard 2 small words, help them, and the Bucket Ministry was born. The Bucket Ministry now provides water filters to over 20 countries and hope to people all over the world, sharing God's love through the gift of safe, clean drinking water. The Bible makes God's heart visible to us, showing us over and over again his compassion for the poor, for the outcast, for the powerless, for those who are marginalized. Christopher's ministry of hope came directly from a seemingly hopeless situation. He shares with us how we can live in a way that shows God's heart for the poor and bring hope to those who are without hope. What a privilege to hear from him. It is such an encouraging, hope-filled story. So without further ado, please welcome my friend and now yours, Christopher Beth.
Well, my name is Christopher Beth, and I am blessed to serve with the Bucket Ministry. We are a global, faith-based, non-denominational organization that focuses our efforts on bringing people hope through clean water and establishing relationships with them. And then from there, we hope to earn the right to be able to share the sweet gospel of Jesus Christ with them and then disciple those who come to believe. Throughout most of my life, I was a business consultant, and more or less I helped stores, I helped manufacturers, I helped distributors of goods make more money. And honestly, I thought I would be doing that for most of my life and then retire and maybe get to go fishing a lot. I never had thought that at this point in my life I would be fishing for men. My daughter came home from school and she announced to my wife and I that she wanted to go on a mission trip to the Brazilian Amazon. And So we decided we would let her go, but one of us was going to have to go with her, and that became my job. But since I was only saved about 4 years prior to that, I really didn't even fully understand my own relationship with Jesus yet. I certainly did not agree to go on that trip because I had a love or compassion for the Brazilian people. I went solely on that trip to make sure my daughter came home, and she came home healthy. We flew from Dallas Fort Worth to Manaus, Brazil, and we boarded an open air river boat. And I remember getting on this river boat at about 11 p.m. at night. It was dark, it was super humid, and it just stretched me beyond my comfort level. And we were hanging hammocks on the boat because we were going to be sleeping on the boat while it was traveling through the Amazon basin. And I just remember thinking, this might have been one of my largest mistakes I've ever made because I was just so uncomfortable. I didn't know all these people I was on the boat with, and everyone was really talking because they were experienced short-term missionaries. They were talking about being the hands and feet of Jesus, and I didn't have any background in that, and I even felt like they were speaking a language that was different than mine. I thought I was just going to be chaperoning my child on this trip, but what happened on that trip changed me because I got to see things I was not expecting. I saw people without hope. There was a moment on the third day where I was invited to go to an individual's family, their home that was on the side of the river, and pray over them. And there's this woman that I met that looks at me and she asks, "Are you thirsty?" And I looked around and I thought, yeah, I'm thirsty. I'm sweating to death. So the next thing she does is she goes in her kitchen and gets 2 cups. They were mismatched and they were cracked. And at that point, she walks outside, bends down into this dock area, and scoops 2 cups of water out of the river. And I'm standing in the doorway thinking, what in the world is she doing? And sure enough, she comes back, hands one to me, one to my interpreter. So it was at this point where I discovered that these people only have river water to drink and they think that's normal. Before this day, I had never even considered that people did not have clean water to drink. I didn't know anything about a world water crisis. At that same time, I heard 2 words that I now know were from the Lord. He said, "Help them." He didn't give any other instruction. He didn't tell me what help them was, but he said, "Help them." And I came back from that trip with a burden. I returned to the United States and I start researching this world water crisis. And I found out that there's 785 million people around the world that lack access to something I've taken for granted most of my life, and that's clean, safe drinking water. Found out that many children under the age of 5, upwards of as many as 700 a day, perish from something that we can fix. And then I started researching the spiritual issue and how people are so far away from God. And it led me to an organization called the Joshua Project. I read that 3.1 billion people have never heard the good news of Jesus Christ. So in the beginning of this, I would say God opening my heart and softening my heart, I learned just how big the problem is from the water side and from the spiritual side as well. I researched water wells. I researched a plethora of other filters, biosand filters, and tried to find a solution for the Brazilian Amazon. And then one day I was at a camping supply store here in Dallas called REI, and they had these filters from a company called Sawyer that they were selling. And I thought, well, I'm going to buy a couple of these and test them. So at that point, brought these filters home, and it's a very small filter that attaches with very simple hardware to a bucket and just uses the gravity of water in the bucket to flow water through the filter, and the filter captures all the dirt, debris, and contaminants. So my family and I tested these filters for a week, drinking out of Lake Ray Hubbard here in Dallas, Texas. We drank out of that lake for an entire week. And that's when we discovered how powerful the filter is. It was a very simple filter that we could teach a 7-year-old or a 97-year-old how to use and how to maintain. And the good news of the filter is it lasts over 20 years if it's well cared for and takes out all of the biological contaminants. So our mission at the Bucket Ministry is sharing God's love through the gift of clean, safe drinking water. So we work actively in about 12 countries right now. We've distributed filters over the last 13 years in over 20 countries. On an average year, we distribute about 33 to 35,000 of these filters. We work through a model of neighbors ministering neighbors. So when you see our missionaries, they are always indigenous pastors or missionaries that live in the same areas where they are serving, and the filter becomes their entry point, their entry strategy, or the relationship builder. And then as we develop that relationship, we use different tools to start to disciple people, even different tools to share the gospel with people. So the filter becomes a key, and the key is what unlocks a door and starts a relationship with these people. We serve people every day that have never seen what clear water looks like. And the magnitude of that is illustrated when we do some distributions of filters in remote areas. When we show the water going through the filter, starting looking like chocolate milk and ending crystal clear, you see people have hope in their face and in their eyes. And you can tell they have not had hope in their face for a long time. And I believe that is maybe some of the greatest illustrations of God's love in wanting his people to be healthier. And I think because of his love, he has allowed me to see where he's working, and he's allowed me to join in that work, and I've gotten to see miracles happen firsthand. I will be reading from a story in the Jesus Storybook Bible called 10 Ways to Be Perfect, and it's about Moses and the 10 Commandments from Exodus 16 through 17 and 19 through 40. Every day of their journey, God kept on showing his people how well he would look after them if they would trust him and obey him. When they were hungry, God made the sky rain with food, bread coming down from heaven. What is it? They asked each other. They didn't know, so they called it, "What is it?" Which, of course, is a very good name for something when you don't know what it is. When they were thirsty and started quarreling, God made water flow from a rock. Moses called that place Quarreling because that seemed like a good name too. And still, God's children didn't trust him or do what he said. They thought they could do a better job of looking after themselves and making themselves happy. But God knew there was no such thing as happiness without him. So God led them to a tall mountain. God wanted to talk to his people and to show them what he was like. He wanted to help them know him better and tell them about the special land he was going to give them. The whole earth belongs to me, God said, but I have chosen you. You are my special family. I want you to live in a way that shows everyone else what I'm like so they can know me too. I see examples of that in my own life where once I have completely surrendered and trust and obeyed him, he provided. In the last sentence, we see, I want you to live in a way that everyone else will know what I'm like so they can know me too. And sometimes I think for me, I've tried to live in a way that is difficult, and I know I can't be perfect. But if I show people how I live by trusting Him and obeying Him, I don't have to be perfect. So if they see me doing good things, if they see me worshiping God, if they see me being righteous, they will know who He is through my actions. And I think that's the beautiful part of this.
You can get the Jesus Storybook Bible wherever books are sold. To find out more about the book and all of Sally's other books, please visit Sally at sallyloyd-jones.com and follow her on Instagram at Sally Lloyd Jones and at Jesus_Storybook_Bible.
Before we go, don't forget, God loves you with a never stopping, never giving up, unbreaking, always and forever love. Oh, hello, it's me again, Sally. I'm just popping back briefly to say two things. The first thing is, don't forget to subscribe to the show, because that way you'll get the stories straight to your phone. And the other thing is, while we're at it, would you rate the show and leave us a review? That would be so great, because it helps other people find the show too. I really appreciate your help. Thank you.